The snow fell softly outside the large bay window of the Thompson family home in suburban Chicago, each flake whispering against the glass like a secret waiting to be told. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of cinnamon and pine, mingling with the warm, buttery aroma of sugar cookies baking in the oven. Sarah Thompson moved through the kitchen with practiced ease, her hands dusted in flour, feeling the cool, sticky dough give way under her fingers as she shaped it into festive stars and trees. The heat from the oven wrapped around her like a comforting blanket, chasing away the chill that seeped in from the drafty edges of the old house. Her heart fluttered with a mix of excitement and exhaustion. Christmas was just days away, and this year, she wanted everything to be perfect. The living room hummed with the soft glow of twinkling lights strung across the mantel, their warm amber hues casting dancing shadows on the walls, while the faint crackle of the fireplace added a rhythmic underscore to the holiday carols playing faintly from the radio. Tom, her husband of 30 years, sat in his favorite armchair by the fire, the worn leather creaking under his weight as he shifted, pretending to read the newspaper. The paper rustled crisply in his hands, but his eyes weren't focused on the words. They darted occasionally to the window, where the world outside blurred into a white haze. The room felt cozy, yet there was an undercurrent of tension in the air, like the sharp tang of evergreen needles pricking at your skin. Sarah could sense it, that subtle shift in Tom's mood over the past few weeks, his laughter a bit forced, his touches a little more hesitant. She attributed it to the stresses of work, the long hours at the accounting firm where he crunched numbers until his eyes ached from the fluorescent glare. But deep down, a nagging whisper in her mind wondered if it was something more. Their daughter, Emily, burst into the kitchen from the hallway, her boots tracking in a trail of melting snow that left cold, wet puddles on the hardwood floor. She was 25, with the energy of someone who still believed the world was full of endless possibilities, her cheeks flushed pink from the biting wind outside. The scent of fresh, crisp air clung to her coat, mixing with the vanilla perfume she always wore. "Mom, these cookies smell amazing," she said, her voice light and melodic, carrying the slight Midwestern drawl that made her sound so approachable. She peeled off her gloves, feeling the warmth return to her fingers as she reached for a cooling rack. "I swear, if I gain 10 pounds this holiday, it's all your fault." Sarah laughed, a genuine sound that bubbled up from her chest, easing the knot of worry she'd been carrying. "Oh, honey, that's what Christmas is for, indulging a little. Your brother will be here soon, and you know how Jack loves these. He's driving in from college tonight, right?" The thought of their 19-year-old son filled her with a warm glow, imagining his lanky frame filling the doorway, his backpack slung over one shoulder, bringing with him the faint smell of dorm room coffee and late-night pizza. Tom folded the newspaper with a snap, standing up slowly, his joints protesting with a soft pop. The fire's heat radiated against his face, making his skin feel tight and flushed. "Yeah, he texted me earlier. Should be here by dinner. Traffic's probably a nightmare with this snow." His voice was steady, but there was a gravelly edge to it, like he was swallowing back words he didn't want to say. He moved to the window, his breath fogging the glass as he peered out into the gathering dusk. The streetlights flickered on one by one, their sodium glow piercing the falling snow like hesitant stars. As the evening deepened, the family gathered around the dinner table, the clink of silverware against plates echoing in the dining room. The aroma of roasted turkey, leftover from a practice run for Christmas Eve, filled the space, savory and rich, with hints of rosemary and garlic. Candles flickered on the table, their flames dancing and casting a soft, golden light that made everyone's faces look softer, more nostalgic. Jack arrived just as they were sitting down, stomping snow from his boots on the welcome mat, his arrival announced by the jingle of keys and the rush of cold air that swept through the house like an uninvited guest. "Hey, family," Jack called out, his voice booming with youthful enthusiasm, shaking off his coat to reveal a sweater that smelled faintly of laundry detergent and campus life. He hugged Sarah tightly, her arms wrapping around him, feeling the solidness of his back, the way he'd filled out since summer. "Man, it's good to be home." The drive was brutal, snow everywhere, cars slipping like they're on ice skates. Dinner passed in a blur of conversation, laughter bubbling up as they shared stories. Emily teased Jack about his latest college escapades, her words laced with sisterly affection. So, any girlfriends I should know about? Or are you still too busy with those video games? Jack rolled his eyes, his fork scraping against the plate as he speared a piece of turkey, the meat tender and juicy. Please, Em. I'm focused on my studies. Unlike you, who's probably still chasing that dream job in the city. Tom chuckled, but it sounded hollow, his mind elsewhere, the warmth of the room doing little to thaw the ice forming in his chest. That night, as the house settled into quiet, the wind howling outside like a distant wolf, Sarah lay in bed beside Tom. The sheets were soft and cool against her skin, the quilt heavy and reassuring. She could hear his breathing, uneven and shallow, not the deep rhythm of sleep. Tom, what's bothering you? She whispered, her hand reaching out to touch his arm, feeling the tension in his muscles. He hesitated, the silence stretching like taffy, before sighing deeply. Nothing, Sarah. Just tired. Work stuff. But his voice cracked slightly, and in that moment, the air between them felt charged, pregnant with unspoken truths. The days leading up to Christmas blurred into a whirlwind of preparations. The scent of fresh-baked pies, apple and pumpkin, their crusts golden and flaky, wafted through the house, competing with the sharp, citrusy smell of oranges being sliced for mulled wine. Strings of lights hummed faintly as they were tested, their colors reflecting off the polished ornaments that clinked together like tiny bells. Sarah and Emily decorated the tree in the living room, the needles prickling their fingers as they hung baubles, each one carrying a memory, the glass angel from their honeymoon, the handmade stars from the kids' elementary school days. The room grew warmer with their efforts, laughter filling the space, but Tom was distant, often retreating to his study where the air was cooler, scented with old books and the faint metallic tang of his computer. One afternoon, as snow continued to blanket the yard in a thick, muffling layer, crunching underfoot like crushed sugar, a letter arrived. It was tucked among the holiday cards, its envelope plain and unassuming, the paper slightly rough under Sarah's fingers as she sorted the mail at the kitchen table. The stamp was from California, postmarked Los Angeles, and the handwriting unfamiliar, neat, almost formal. She opened it absent-mindedly, the tear of the paper sharp in the quiet room, while the kettle whistled on the stove, steam rising in warm, fragrant clouds of chamomile tea. As she read, the words blurred before her eyes, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest, the blood rushing in her ears. The letter was from a young man named Alex, claiming to be Tom's son from a brief affair 30 years ago, during a business trip when Tom was young and reckless. Alex wrote of his mother's recent passing, the discovery of old letters and photos, and a desire to connect, especially now, at Christmas. The paper trembled in Sarah's hands, the ink smudging slightly from the sweat on her palms. The kitchen suddenly felt too hot, the air thick and suffocating, the cookie smells now cloying and overwhelming. Tom, she called, her voice breaking, echoing down the hall like a crack in ice. He appeared moments later, his face paling as he saw the letter, the color draining from his cheeks like water from a sieve. The room spun for Sarah, the lights blurring into halos, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. What is this? Tell me it's a joke, some mistake. Her words tumbled out, laced with disbelief and rising anger, the emotion burning in her throat like bile. Tom sank into a chair, the wood creaking under him, his hands clasping together so tightly his knuckles whitened. The fire in the adjacent living room popped and hissed, but it did nothing to warm the chill that settled between them. Sarah, I never meant for you to find out like this. It was a long time ago, before we were married. I was stupid, young. She never told me about the child until years later, and by then, I thought it was best to leave it buried. His voice was low, gravelly with regret, the words heavy as stones. Emily and Jack overheard the raised voices, drawn to the kitchen like moths to a flame. Emily's face twisted in confusion, her eyes wide, the scent of her perfume now mixing with the sharp edge of tension. Dad? What's going on? Jack stood behind her, his tall frame filling the doorway, his expression shifting from curiosity to shock as the truth spilled out in halting confessions. The air grew heavy, charged with betrayal, the holiday cheer shattering like fragile glass ornaments underfoot. That evening, the house felt different, colder, despite the heater rumbling in the basement, sending waves of dry warmth through the vents. Dinner was silent, the clatter of utensils amplified in the quiet, the food tasting like ash in their mouths. Sarah couldn't look at Tom, her eyes stinging with unshed tears, the saltiness lingering on her lips as she bit them to hold back words she'd regret. Emily paced the living room, her footsteps muffled on the carpet, the twinkling lights now mocking in their false joy. "How could you keep this from us, Dad? A brother? All these years?" Her voice rose, cracking with hurt, the emotion raw and palpable, like a wound exposed to air. Jack sat on the couch, his hands fidgeting with a throw pillow, the fabric soft and worn under his fingers. "I don't even know what to feel. Angry? Sad? It's like our whole family was a lie." The wind outside picked up, rattling the windows, snow swirling in eddies that sounded like distant whispers. Tom tried to explain, his words tumbling out in a rush, the regret thick in his throat. "I was scared. Scared of losing you all. It was one mistake, but I loved your mother, love her, and you kids. Alex, he reached out a few months ago. I didn't know how to tell you." The confession hung in the air, heavy as the scent of the dying fire, embers glowing faintly. As Christmas Eve approached, the family teetered on the edge of fracture. Sarah spent hours in the guest room, the bed linens crisp and cool against her skin, staring at the ceiling where shadows played from the streetlight filtering through the curtains. The house creaked and settled around her, each sound amplified in the silence, the tick of the clock, the distant hum of traffic on the snowy roads. Emotion swirled inside her, betrayal like a knife twist in her gut, sorrow for the years of unspoken pain, and a flicker of curiosity about this secret son. Emily called her best friend, whispering into the phone in her room, the device warm against her ear, tears sliding hot down her cheeks. "It's like everything I knew was fake. How do I even celebrate Christmas now?" Jack retreated to the basement, the air cooler and mustier down there, punching a bag that hung from the rafters, his fists thudding rhythmically, sweat beading on his forehead, the physical exertion a temporary balm for the storm inside. Then, on Christmas Eve morning, the doorbell rang, a sharp chime cutting through the tense quiet like a bell toll. Sarah answered, her hand trembling on the knob, the cold metal biting into her palm. Outside, the world was a winter wonderland, snow blanketing everything in pristine white, the air crisp and invigorating, carrying the faint scent of wood smoke from neighboring chimneys. Standing on the porch was a man in his early 30s, tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes that mirrored Tom's, deep brown, framed by lines of quiet determination. He stamped snow from his boots, the crunch audible, and extended a gloved hand. "Mrs. Thompson? I'm Alex. I hope I'm not intruding, but I felt I had to come." The introduction hung in the frosty air, his breath visible in puffs. Sarah felt a rush of emotions, shock like ice water down her back, curiosity warming her chest. She stepped aside, the door creaking open wider, inviting in the chill. "Come in. It's freezing out there." Inside, the warmth enveloped him, the sense of the house overwhelming after the stark cold outside. Tom emerged from the study, his face ashen, the color of old snow. The two men stood facing each other, the air thick with unspoken history. Alex's voice was steady, with a California lilt that softened his words. "Dad. Tom. I didn't come to disrupt your life. My mom passed last year, and she left me your letters. I just wanted to know where I came from." The words landed softly, but their impact rippled through the room, stirring the embers of old secrets. Emily and Jack joined them, the family circle incomplete yet expanding. Conversations unfolded haltingly at first, voices overlapping in a cacophony of questions and explanations. The living room filled with the sounds of shifting bodies on couches, the rustle of clothing, the occasional sniffle. Alex shared stories of his childhood, growing up in sunny Los Angeles, the ocean's salt spray on his skin during beach days, the distant roar of waves that contrasted sharply with Chicago's biting winters. His mother had been a kind woman, he said, her laughter like wind chimes, but she'd carried the burden alone, never demanding anything from Tom. As the day wore on, the initial shock gave way to tentative bridges. Sarah, her heart aching but opening, offered Alex a cup of hot cocoa, the steam rising in sweet, chocolatey swirls, the mug warm in his hands. Tell me about her, your mother. What was she like? Her voice was gentle, probing, the emotion raw but seeking connection. Tom listened, his eyes glistening, the fire's crackle punctuating the pauses, the heat drying the tears on his cheeks. Dinner that night was a patchwork of emotions. The table groaned under the weight of ham glazed with honey, its savory sweetness filling the air, alongside mashed potatoes creamy and buttery, and green beans crisp with almonds. Laughter emerged sporadically, hesitant at first, like sunlight breaking through clouds. Jack asked Alex about his job, a software engineer in Silicon Valley, the words flowing easier as shared interests surfaced. Emily shared photos from her phone, describing them vividly. This is us at the lake last summer, the water so cold it took your breath away, but the sun was warm on our backs. But tension simmered beneath. Later, in the quiet of the night, Sarah confronted Tom again, their whispers fierce in the bedroom. How do I forgive this? It's not just the affair, it's the lie, all these years. Her voice trembled, the quilt clutched in her fists, the fabric bunching under her grip. Tom reached for her, his hand warm but tentative. I don't know if you can. But I'm sorry, from the bottom of my soul. I love you, Sarah. Always have. Christmas morning dawned with a fresh layer of snow, the world outside muffled and pure. The family gathered around the tree, the scent of pine stronger now, mingled with the aroma of fresh coffee brewing. Gifts were exchanged, wrapped in paper that crinkled delightfully, ribbons sliding silkily under fingers. Alex had brought small tokens, a bottle of wine from California vineyards, its cork popping with a festive thud. Smiles were genuine, though shadows lingered in eyes. As the day unfolded, healing began in small moments, a shared joke that elicited belly laughs, the sound rich and echoing, a hug that lingered, conveying forgiveness in the press of bodies, the taste of eggnog, creamy and spiced with nutmeg, warming from the inside. The secret, once a chasm, became a bridge, albeit fragile. Yet, not everything resolved neatly. Doubts whispered in quiet corners, emotions raw like exposed nerves. But in the glow of the holiday lights, the family found a new shape, expanded and imperfect. The aftermath of that Christmas lingered like the faint scent of pine needles scattered on the carpet long after the tree was taken down. January brought a brutal cold snap to Chicago, the kind that made your bones ache and your breath freeze in crystalline clouds. Sarah woke early each morning to the sound of the furnace kicking on with a low rumble, the air dry and scratchy against her throat. She moved through the house in a robe, the fabric soft and familiar, feeling the chill of the hardwood floors seep through her slippers. Tom was already up, brewing coffee in the kitchen, the rich, bitter aroma pulling her in like a lifeline. Their conversations were tentative now, laced with the effort of rebuilding, words chosen carefully, like stepping on thin ice, testing for cracks. I've been thinking about therapy, Tom said one morning, his voice low over the clink of mugs on the counter. The steam rose in lazy spirals, warming his face. For us. To work through this. Sarah nodded, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup, the porcelain smooth and hot. Maybe. It's going to take time, Tom. A lot of time. The emotion swelled in her chest, a mix of love and lingering hurt, like a bruise that throbbed with every heartbeat. Emily had returned to her apartment in the city, but she called often, her voice crackling over the phone line, carrying the distant honks of traffic and the bustle of urban life. How are you holding up, Mom? I still can't wrap my head around Alex. Sarah could picture her daughter pacing her small living room, the scent of takeout Chinese lingering from dinner, the neon lights from the street below casting colorful shadows. It's strange, honey. Part of me resents him for appending everything, but he's family now, I guess. Your dad talks to him weekly. Jack, back at college, threw himself into his studies, the dorm room air thick with the smell of instant ramen and textbooks. Late-night texts to Sarah revealed his turmoil. It's weird having a big brother I never knew. Kinda cool, kinda sucks. She felt the pull of maternal worry, imagining him hunched over his desk, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead, his fingers tapping restlessly on the keyboard. Alex became a presence through emails and calls, his voice warm across the miles, describing the palm trees swaying in the breeze, the ocean's salty tang that he missed when thinking of snowy Chicago. "I don't want to push," he told Tom during one video call, the screen glowing in the study, pixels flickering slightly. "But I'd like to visit again, maybe in spring when the weather's better." Tom felt a swell of paternal pride mixed with guilt, the emotion knotting in his stomach like undigested food. As winter dragged on, the family navigated the new dynamics. Sarah met Alex virtually first, the webcam capturing his smile, describing the sunny room behind him, the hum of traffic outside his window, the faint scent of eucalyptus from a nearby tree. "Tell me about your life," she said, her voice steadying. He shared stories, growing up with a single mom who worked 2 jobs, the warmth of her hugs after long days, the taste of homemade tacos on Friday nights, spicy and comforting. Spring arrived with a thaw, the snow melting into slushy puddles that splashed under tires, the air turning milder, carrying the earthy smell of wet soil and budding flowers. Alex visited in April, the airport reunion awkward yet touching, hugs that started stiff but softened, the scent of his cologne fresh and citrusy. The house felt fuller with him there, conversations flowing over meals, grilled steaks on the patio, the sizzle of meat on the barbecue, smoke curling lazily upward. But conflicts arose. Emily felt overshadowed, her voice sharp during a family dinner. "It's like we're all supposed to just accept this. What about our family, the one we had before?" The words hung heavy, the clatter of forks pausing, the evening air cooling as the sun dipped. Alex responded gently, "I get it. I'm not here to replace anyone. Just to find my place." The tension eased slowly, like fog lifting, with apologies whispered later under the stars, the night air crisp and star-studded. Jack bonded with Alex over video games during the visit, the controller warm in their hands, laughter erupting from the basement amid the beeps and explosions on screen. "You're pretty good for an old guy," Jack teased, the room smelling of popcorn, buttery and salty. Sarah and Tom's marriage strained and mended in cycles. Nights of arguments, voices raised in the bedroom, the sheets tangled from restless sleep, mornings of reconciliation, coffee shared in silence, hands brushing with renewed tenderness. Therapy sessions in a cozy office downtown, the air scented with lavender diffuser, words pouring out like released steam. By summer, the family planned a trip to the lake house, the drive long and winding, the car filled with the scent of sunscreen and snacks. The water lapped gently against the dock, cool and inviting, the sun warming their skin. Laughter echoed over barbecues, the sizzle of burgers, the pop of beer cans. Secrets aired fully, emotions raw but healing, like scabs forming over wounds. Yet, betrayal's shadow lingered. A heated argument erupted one evening by the fire pit, flames crackling, marshmallows toasting to gooey sweetness. "You lied to all of us," Emily accused Tom, tears hot on her cheeks. Alex defended, "He's human. We all make mistakes." The night air thickened with words unsaid, but dawn brought apologies, hugs in the morning light, dew damp on the grass. As autumn leaves turned fiery reds and golds, crunching underfoot with a satisfying snap, the family reflected on the year. Thanksgiving dinner was expansive, the turkey's aroma filling the house, gravy-rich and savory. Alex joined, his presence now familiar, stories blending seamlessly. Christmas approached again, the cycle renewing. Decorations went up with care, lights twinkling, the pine scent evoking memories. This time, the secret was out, the family reshaped, stronger in its fractures, bonded by truth. In the end, not everything was as it seemed, but in the revealing, they found deeper love, forgiveness warming like the holiday hearth.